District study session regarding the Arizona Youth Partnership Program presentation. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mrs. Reese, members of the board and community. The purpose of this study session is to have a conversation about the Healthy Relationship Education Program from Arizona Youth Partnership. I'm not going to say too much to defer the time to our guests that are here to share with us, but all I'll say is we're committed to building quality programs in all that we do in a manner that will support the mission of success and health and well-being for all of our students. And frankly, when there's a need that we identify as leaders, we act to develop a program that is quality, that is sound, and that it's in line with our community values. And with that, I'd like to thank our Assistant Superintendent, Brett Bonner, for his initiative, his vision, and his time and energy to take us to this point where we are going to share about a program with the Arizona Youth Partnership, which you will hear a lot more about. So I'd like to turn it over at this point to Mr. Bonner, who will take it from here. Mr. Bonner.
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela, members of the governing board, and our community. Tonight we have our first study session regarding a proposed collaboration with a sexual avoidance program that we like to implement in our middle school and high school programs. I'll emphasize first that this requires parent consent to participate. We have worked historically with Arizona Youth Partnership since 2013. We're currently implementing programs specifically titled Strengthening Families. In addition to that, the drug and alcohol prevention program called Wake Up. We've also worked with the Arizona Youth Partnership Sexual Avoidance Curriculum, also known as the Abstinence Program, historically, but the reason we're here today is because, one, it's a new program. It's recently grant funded for 5 years. In addition to that, we would like to bring this program back into our PE classes, being that we no longer offer health courses because it's no longer a high school graduation requirement. It's not year-long. It's anywhere from 5 to 8 days. And of course, we have our special guest here today who will share the program overview, answer any questions, and then during our regular scheduled meeting, I have a few updates to share as far as timelines, policy procedures, parent involvement, parent transparency, and feedback from the community. So I'd like to welcome first my primary contact with Arizona Youth Partnership, Mrs. Anais Acosta. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Anais Acosta, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our program as AZYP and our history with Sahuarita Unified School District. So who we are a recognized 501c3 statewide nonprofit. We were funded in 1990 to provide rural communities access to services available in the Tucson metro area. And in 2006, we were able to serve rural communities all across the state. So now, as Dr. V mentioned earlier, we used to be Pima Youth Partnership, and we became Arizona Youth Partnership to be able to offer programs all across the state to rural communities. Our mission statement is to build solid foundations for youth and families by partnering with Arizona communities to prevent and solve local issues such as substance abuse, youth homelessness, lack of educational opportunities, teen pregnancy, and challenging family dynamics. Our vision is empowered youth, strong, stable families, and thriving communities. These are the populations we have served throughout the years. So we've served rural communities in Arizona, youth ages 12 to 22 for in-school, after-school programs, community-based, homelessness, pregnant and/or parenting teens, families with youth ages 9 to 15 in 11 Arizona counties and 31 different school districts. These are the different services that we have provided. So cultivating family foundations for youth, that is our healthy relationship education classes that we're here to talk about today, which is our love notes for high schoolers and positive potential for middle school aged youth. Promoting strong families, which is the strengthening families education classes. And we also have the mental health first aid trainings. We have been mobilizing communities through coalitions, and we have 8 different coalitions statewide to prevent drug abuse. And our history with Sahuarita Unified School District. We've been here for since around 2013. We've been able to provide services and support to over 800 youth in the district, and we look forward to continuing and serving the Sahuarita Unified School District now and hopefully for a long time in the future. And I'm going to pass this over to Dominique Cruz, who is our Director of Youth and Family Services, and she'll get to talk a little bit about our curriculum that we're talking about today.
Thanks, Ani. So just to start out, just like Dr. Bonner said, so every single program that we are going to present to students requires parental consent to parental opt-in. If a youth does not have parental consent, there's going to be an alternative activity that the school provides to them. So this is just an example, and it's also in our folders of the parental consent for the Positive Potential curriculum, which is for middle school students. It's pretty standard language, and of course, if there's any questions, you can always ask at the end. There's also a different parental consent form for the Love Notes program, and I do want to mention that both of these consent forms have the digital link to view the curriculum online. So to get a little bit more into the Love Notes curriculum, so it is a sexual risk avoidance or abstinence-based program. That just means that no matter what we're presenting, the overall message is that abstinence is the only 100% effective way to eliminate STDs, pregnancy, and also the negative emotional consequences that can come from engaging in sexual activity before being in a healthy, committed relationship like marriage. So Love Notes is tailored specifically for high school students. It requires parental consent. It takes approximately 8 days to teach and has 13 different lessons. So a brief overview of the topics that are covered. Youth will learn how to identify unhealthy relationships. So they learn the red flags of an unhealthy relationship or a potentially abusive relationship. They prepare a lot for their future, so there's a lot of activities as far as figuring out their personality style, how they communicate, different communication strategies, so how to basically conflict resolution. There's a lot of things about decision making and positive decision making, and also the benefits of delaying sexual activity. So this is an overview of the curriculum, so lesson by lesson breakdown. Here we go. So how the lessons are broken down, basically every single lesson has a topic or concept that is the main primary focus. There's usually a discussion or a group activity. Each youth also gets a workbook that's kind of like their own personal little journal that they'll take throughout the lessons. So there's personal application as well as group activity and peer communication. There's a lot of discussion-based activities, and then at the end of every single lesson, there is a trusted adult connection. So this is basically an opportunity for youth to take what they're learning in the classroom and bring it home to that trusted parent or guardian and continue that conversation at home. As educators, all of our team is very trained in being trauma-informed, but of course, we're not trying to take that role that parents and guardians have in the child's life. We're only there to present the information and for them to take that information and get those values back at home. So these build life skills, self-efficacy, and community within the participants. These are just some of the positive outcomes that have been found from Love Notes. So a study that was run from 2011 to 2014 had over 1,400 teen participants. They had a control group and then a group that took Love Notes. Of the youth that took the Love Notes, 46% were less likely to get pregnant compared to the control group. And also they did a 6-month follow-up survey with those youth who completed Love Notes, and they were significantly less likely to have ever had sex than those that completed the control intervention. Another thing to note here is that with this new grant, this new 5-year grant, we actually have evaluators from ASU up in Phoenix, and any youth who takes surveys, anonymous surveys, will actually be able to pull that data and make it school specific. So every single school that participates in SUSD will get a specific report of those youth and how their behaviors and attitudes changed from pre-survey to post-survey. And then Positive Potential, that's our middle school curriculum. So for Positive Potential, just because youth kind of develop, there's a wide developmental range between 6th graders and 8th graders. There's this tailored lesson specific to each 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Again, this requires parental consent, so parents have to opt their youth in to participate. This one has a little bit of a shorter time frame, so it takes approximately 5 to 6 days to teach. And the topics are tailored to middle school youth and cover decision-making, how to resist peer pressure, setting goals for the future, overcoming obstacles, and again, the benefit of delaying sex in their relationships. As far as positive outcomes, this is again an evidence-based curriculum that was chosen by the Arizona Department of Health Services. So according to the Positive Potential website, students who attended these classes reported the following. They had increased positive attitudes about the knowledge that they learned in the class. They also increased their skills to help them avoid sexual activity in high school and beyond. And they were more often reported their intention to wait until after high school before having sexual intercourse. So looking at the folders, we'll go over the contents really quick. So if you guys open it, the first thing in your packets on the right side is who AZYP is. So again, just going over who we are as an organization. We also have all of the schools in Southern Arizona that we currently serve in. So we serve in a lot of major school districts, again, filling a gap that's needed in those schools. There's also the curriculum outlines for each of the curriculum, how our programs are normally scheduled, and then the consent forms. Yeah, and then you guys will notice on the parental consent forms, there's consent that parents have to opt in for their youth to participate, and there's also consent to participate in the survey. So youth can take the class and not do the survey. Okay, and that was a really brief overview, and I know Anissa and I are both quick speakers, but if anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to take them now. And then this last slide is my contact, and then also just the resources that we pulled information from.
And Mrs. Cruz, thank you so much.
Yeah, of
and Ms. Acosta, just a few additional items, and we'll open up for any questions the board may have or the community. I just want to emphasize again that we have been collaborating with Arizona Youth Partnership since 2013. And historically, we used to offer this programming in our health classes. We diminished health class because it was no longer a requirement, and the intent was to bring it into PE classes. Well, it isn't working out like we planned. And so right now, we are not implementing to the level, at an appropriate level, with parent consent to bring that awareness and to have a curriculum that's focused on abstinence and sexual risk avoidance for middle school and high school. So this is a program that, again, is no cost to the district. It's grant funded. It's free. It does not come out of our maintenance and operation budget. It does require parent consent, parent permission. The facilitators through Arizona Youth Partnership actually deliver the lesson, so we're not adding it on to the classroom teachers. The goal is to implement these 5 to 10 classes during the school year, during PE classes. So the PE teachers will be part of the support, the management, and the communication to families, along with the school principals and leadership. And we'll designate times at work for each school and that classroom teacher that teaches PE. In addition to that, we are going to be very committed to transparency and to share the curriculum like we do historically with any type of adoption, whether it's mathematics, reading. And what I have on my desk here is the middle school curriculum. Each color defines the certain grade level span. And then this large binder is the high school curriculum that would be implemented as just briefly presented to our community and our board. These curriculum items, the program itself, will be on public display beginning tomorrow as day one in the district office. In addition to that, on our webpage, we have 3 links where parents could actually link on to see the online version of the exact same curriculum that we're planning to implement pending board approval, if it's supported by our community and our families and of course the board. On the 3 links, which I'll highlight during the board meeting, you'll see it under the district link under textbook page, where you can actually follow the information. In addition to that, it'll be on the very bottom under the most up-to-date news. There'll be a link on that front page, along with the scrolling information where we keep our calendar and our lunch information. There'll be a link on that front page of our website. We'll have a feedback form where we want parents and community members to share feedback. We'll collect that data over the next 60 business days. So tomorrow will be day 1. It'll be on public display if it's approved to be tabled, and we'll close that window effective Monday, May 16th, 2022. And if it does seek the next phase, we would bring it back to the governing board on Wednesday, May 25th, 2022, where working closely with Dr. Valenzuela, we would summarize the feedback, the outcome, as far as any insight, any recommendations, any insights that parents or community members wanted to share. And if board approved, we would then bring our PE teachers, our principals, administrators, and the Arizona Youth Partnership team together during one of the first days in August of 2022 when we come back to school to do another program overview, and that's when we schedule the lessons to be taught either in fall or spring, only if parents give consent. If parents do not give consent, there's no penalty, there's no consequence, there's no harm done. Students will then continue on with their PE class. We'll have a substitute that time period to keep teaching PE, while the PE teacher works closely with the AZYP team to deliver these lessons. And we are in compliance with House Bill 2035 and also the State Board of Education Administrative Code R72303, which we have by statute posted on our webpage that highlights all of our health-related curriculum initiatives that we're implementing in the district. Again, just more communication outreach to our families and our community. And that is available under our curriculum page on the district webpage. With that, I'll hit pause, open it up to Dr. Valenzuela and the board for any questions. And I want to again say thank you to Arizona Youth Partnership, Anais and Dominique for your time and effort, and we really do appreciate our long-term collaboration over the years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonner, for your leadership with this initiative. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board?
I had a question and a comment, I guess. I had a chance to briefly look over it, and I was really impressed by just the theoretical framework that it was developed under and the credentials of the developers. I like that it's spanning across the grades. One question I did have that I couldn't find the answer to, or maybe I did, as far as the efficacy in the study, is that solely measured by students participating in an exit survey, or how is that measured?
Yeah, sure. So every single study that's done is usually pretty rigorous. There's a pre-survey and a post-survey, and then to reach that evidence-based practice level, I guess you could say, they do have to have a control group and then the study group. So if you couldn't find that on the website, I can definitely send you the links to make it more clear.
Right. No, I understand that part. I was just wondering if the only data for the efficacy was provided by the students who filled out the surveys.
Oh, yes. So the students in the control group and the students in the study group
Yeah.
who did the pre and post surveys, correct.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Mrs. Warner, if I may add, because it's research and it is driven to get some of the data that you're referencing, parents also have to give consent in addition to participating to be part of that research study. And that permission slip is also embedded into the documents for review.
So how do students who don't take a PE course receive this?
That's a great question, and it's going to be a slow start to get this back into play, and so we're not going to reach everyone, but right now we're going to go up significantly because right now there's 0 health standards that are aligned to this curriculum that should be instructed in classrooms, and that's why I feel this is a need from the educational standpoint, as long as parents are part of that decision, and that's critical. And it also meets the needs of the health standards. So to answer your question, it's a large span. It's not going to capture everyone, but it's a phase in to get more of an audience with consent to bring it into the scheduling that's not year long. It's anywhere from 5 days to 10 days. And PE seemed like the most appropriate and the largest sample group that we could work with to get this implemented next year pending approval.
Mr. Bonner, just a point of clarification. Is it true that this program, if approved, would be offered to students in grades 6 through 12, some grade levels there, every grade level? What's the plan?
6 through 12 PE classes. In addition to that, it does provide opportunity where we could expand into our after-school programs with, again, parent consent, where we have either, like for example, Arizona Youth Partnership is doing after-school programs already, like strengthening families. We do our wake-up programs. This could provide another opportunity where maybe a 21st century school wanted to have this program for families to come to. We could expand in that level where it's not just delivered to students, but it could be a family program that would also provide that avenue to expand beyond that. But right now, it will be proposed 6th, 7th, 8th, and in all high school PE classes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Very well.
Thank you so much for coming and presenting. We really appreciate it.
Well needed.
Are we off right now?
And welcome to this meeting of the Sahuarita Unified School District Governing Board. Sahuarita board members and district administration are meeting at the district auditorium. There will also be accommodation for up to 75 community members to attend the meeting. The meeting will be live streamed by use of YouTube, which allows for members of the public to view and/or listen to this meeting virtually. If you need accommodations, please contact Betsy Palacios at bpalacios@sahuarita.net. A link has been provided for any call to the public comments. 20 minutes will be allowed for reading of online and in-person comments at the meeting. Any comments not read during this agenda item will still be entered into the public record. We will adhere to all board meeting procedures to the extent practicable. An audio recording and/or draft copy of the minutes from this meeting will be available to the public. We apologize in advance for any unforeseen difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. The first item is Pledge of Allegiance. So
Would recommend the board's approval of the agenda as it was revised.
okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we shall proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on, approval of the minutes. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Reese. Members of the board, you have in your packet draft copies of the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the board back on January 26, 2022. And after your review and consideration, I do recommend approval at this time.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we shall proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Ratification of the vouchers. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Reese, members of the board, this evening, on behalf of my colleague, our CFO, Ms. Huey, I recommend payroll voucher ratification number 15 and new payroll number 18 totaling $4,684,572.70. Additionally, expense ratifications 1055 through 1060, and new expense vouchers 1067 through 1070, totaling $8,739,477.24, for a grand total of expense and payroll vouchers of $13,424,049.94.
Thank you. We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Moving on, we now have the superintendent reports. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, Ms. Reese, members of the board and community. We always begin with our enrollment report. And as you look at this week's little chart, it has a mix of both green and red with a fairly nominal difference from the last meeting of 3 students. I think the more important trend that tells the more compelling picture over time is the difference between the blue, which is this year, and the orange line underneath it, which is last year. As you notice, for all of the rather small differences that we've seen, say, in the last 2 or 3 months, it's that blue lines remain fairly solid. However, if you look at the history trend over last year, the slope of the line was negative and it continued. And so that bodes very favorably for us, not only in terms of our efforts to regain the budget stability and consistency that we had pre-pandemic as we work toward that, but also in our efforts to preserve our programs as we continue to emerge from this latest phase of the pandemic era going forward. There's cause for optimism there. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention at least a few passing comments about an item that continues to be in the spotlight recently in the media, and that's the concern about the aggregate expenditure limit. in a nutshell, I'd just like to inform the board and public that this is a 1980, so about 42-year-old. Gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. 42-year-old constitutional amendment that governed limits on expenditures in our state. Most of us know that, just practically speaking, what has changed in our lives financially, personally, systematically since 1980. You can kind of transfer that and you understand kind of some of the concerns about this issue. You know, most recently, we know through the pandemic, we've had declines and shifts in enrollment. We just talked about some of that. Another thing that is relevant in this conversation is, in the last few years, we've had a change in regards to Proposition 301, which is the voter-approved tax to support education and specifically to support teacher compensation and programming and things like that. That was voter protected. That was not considered in this equation for the first, I think it was 20 years that it was voter protected. That expired and the legislature continued it, but it's no longer voter protected, so all of that money now gets added on here. So some of this is just how you're counting, what you're counting, and variables that have changed. I think it's important just to share with the public that, factually speaking, the idea of overriding, which has been done before. The last time I think was 1986, maybe, perhaps. Maybe in the 2000s, maybe 2001. It's been overridden before. This is not more money or new money, new spending, none of that. This is money that's already approved, authorized by the legislature in their budgetary process, signed by the governor, allocated to local school boards, and that local school boards have already contracted and committed for the current year. So I try to be super optimistic. I believe that those facts and the common interests of the state, and not just of education, but of the whole state, will prevail here, and that there will be a resolution to this issue, which by March 1st, what it says is that under this amendment, there have to be steps taken to reduce the budget statewide by over $1 billion. And the potential implication for us is about $6.5 million. So we're optimistic that it's going to be resolved, at least for the short-term era. The bigger issue is, what is the long-term solution to kind of address this matter? But we will continue to monitor, and I'll certainly convey relevant information and developments to the board and public as it goes forward. Let's see. I like to tell you that no matter the many dynamic uncertainties and rapidly moving parts, we continue to keep our compass on true north and trying to do good things and right things. I'd like to share with you a couple of facility projects that recently were completed. One is the courtyard at Sahuarita Middle School. If you've been there for many years, and I have many times, that center area there, which is a central gathering space, it's kind of a hub for students and just for the community, but it frankly was kind of a dust bowl a big chunk of the year. And now you can see it's been beautified with the introduction of that turf. The students love it. I was over there the other day. It's a nice gathering place, and there's less level of dust, which is nice. So I wanted to share that. And also, we have a lot of fence. I remember when a lot of that was going in. And, you know, unfortunately, over time, it rusts and it wears in our climate and our elements. So we've been working slowly but surely to re-weatherize, repaint some of these structures. I think it represents our commitment to making our facilities in the best shape that they can be, and creating the best environment for our students. So I don't know if we have some, there we go. There's the front of SPS. If you used to, the picture probably doesn't even do it justice. I took that myself. But if you walk up there, if you used to walk up to it, which staff and parents do every day, it would be pretty glaring that there were chips and fades and stuff. And now you walk up, it looks very crisp and very, very nice, and it just conveys a great image. So thanks to Ramon, our facility director, and his entire team, and Mr. Downs, who was involved in that, for their efforts. Speaking of facilities, I just want to say that under Mr. Downs' leadership, I've charged him with taking the School Facilities Board approved allocation, which is about $18 million, to expand high school space. And he's going to be, as he's done multiple times in our tenure working together, and work to engage the stakeholders at the school and the staff and the faculty and the students to plan for the utilization of those resources for expanding instructional space at the school. At the same time, we're going to look beyond that, and we're going to start looking at some of the building renewal needs at all of our schools. Again, we don't have a blank check beyond the generosity of the School Facilities Board for high school space specifically, but we're going to start, we always should be looking ahead and planning for our needs so that we are always thinking and acting ahead. So we're excited about that. I have a picture from Copper View. This was really neat. A lot of us know Nancy Birch, who's been an educator in Sahuarita Unified School District for many decades. And Nancy led this really neat program where her first grade students write Valentines to veterans and deliver those. And Jamie Verwise, our friend from the Green Valley News, did a nice write-up on that. We're going to go recognize her class within the next week or two here, but just another shining example of those cross-sector partnerships and those other lessons that we teach beyond just the textbooks that our students, I think, are enriched for. And hopefully they enrich the lives of others as well. And finally, I just wanted to just convey on behalf of the board and to the public that the previously anticipated meeting on February 23rd is going to be canceled based on agenda planning and consultation with our president. We feel that that's a prudent step to take, and any items that were placed on this agenda, and of course any others that emerge will be added to the regularly scheduled meeting on March, I believe it's the 9th, if I'm not mistaken. So with that, I conclude my report. I thank you for the opportunity to share this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela. Moving on to the governing board reports. Ms. Lowell.
No report.
Okay, Dr. Sparks.
It was exciting to attend the Sahuarita Orchestra Day and see all of the very broad orchestra program that we have in the district, and to see the smiling faces and young people doing well and enjoying their craft and art of playing orchestra instruments. And I might be a little biased. I have a son in an orchestra here in the district, so, but at the same time, I think as always, the outcome was very positive. It was enjoyable. I think seemed well attended, and just grateful I got to be there and be part of that. And other than that, I'm just grateful to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Werner.
No report today.
Okay. Mr. Alpaca.
Yeah, I had the opportunity today to attend the Bolts training here in sunny Tucson with some other school board members from around the southern Arizona. Great opportunity, a lot of good information from there, and looking forward to sharing some of the lessons learned.
Cool. Thank you. And for myself, I just want to send out best wishes to the indoor drum programs, which will be traveling to their first competition this week, and also to our orchestra students who are participating in the Southern Arizona Honors Orchestra this weekend. Both of those events go on, and definitely a shout out to our teachers and our staff at the individual schools. State testing has started this week, and that's always kind of a crazy time, and I know much of it's been moved online this year, so please know that we're thinking about you and wishing you the best of luck as we navigate sort of the newness of this way of doing those tests this year. So, all right, We don't have any recognition tonight. Call to the public. We do not have any, so we will move on. New business, instruction, the Arizona Youth Partnership Program presentation. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, President Reese, members of the board. For the clarification and communication of those who did not see the study session earlier, which, by the way, will be posted and available for people to watch. But this is about the Healthy Relationship Education Program. And like I said then, I'll say again, is that our relentless commitment is to building quality programs that advance our vision of excellence and our mission of student success. And that means their overall health, their overall wellness. We are committed to that. I want to also say that when we are looking at our programs and we identify a need, we confront it and we pursue it in the interest of making our programs better and meeting the needs of our students at a higher level. So I'd like to commend and thanks Mr. Bonner, who brought this initiative to my attention and recommended that it be pursued. Again, the materials are posted and conversation and evaluation will continue. But I just want to say thank you, Mr. Bonner. And I'd like to ask Mr. Bonner to provide just a concise summary of the process so that the public and the board is aware before I make a recommendation for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela, Madam President, members of the board, and the Sahuarita community. I would like to thank the Arizona Youth Partnership Program for being here earlier today prior to the board meeting to host a public study session focused on a proposed program adoption that we would implement pending board approval and, of course, with parent consent. The program is specifically called the Arizona Youth Partnership Program Sexual Risk Avoidance, also known as Abstinence Education. In summary, the Sahuarita School District has been working with Arizona Youth Partnership since 2013. We've currently are implementing two programs in our district. It's the Wake Up program, which is a drug and alcohol prevention program. In addition to that, we've historically, for many years, have embedded and implemented the Strengthening Families program throughout the school district. This new program does have a history in our school district, but it has had somewhat of a cutoff point because of some changes we made with our requirements for graduation that was allowable through the Arizona Department of Education. This program was presented during health class back in the day. We moved away from health class because it no longer was a requirement, and the intent was to bring this content of healthy relationships, sexual risk avoidance back into our PE classrooms. Well, COVID hit, things didn't map out as we wanted to implement them, and we did come about with a proposed curriculum that is the new addition. And so that is why we are here today to, one, share publicly during a study session. We'll have another one prior to the proposal date of the given timeline. And we will also work very closely with families, parents, community to really seek their feedback. So what I'd like to do is to again say thank you to Ms. Anais Acosta and Ms. Dominique Cruz for their presentations today. They are our direct liaisons. So on your board screens is a brief overview of what we're looking at timeline-wise. We did host a public study session today, and we will host another one in the near future. We will again continue to publicize when that will be hosted. If it is tabled today under Dr. Valenzuela's advisement, we would then, by policy, publicly display and seek stakeholder feedback. That means parents, community members, for 60 business days. I have the physical copies of the curriculum program that's being proposed, along with the high school program as well. So the colored copies, binders are for the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Program specific, it talks about the lessons, the objectives, really focusing on healthy relationships. In addition to that, the high school curriculum and program also being focused on healthy relationships and mental health, well-being. And we will put that on public display at the district office for the 60 given days. In addition to that, and I'll show you shortly, where we will also post the curriculum links, so parents can actually link onto our district webpage, go to the links to review the curriculum, and sign and provide feedback on a document that we will collect to share publicly with our governing board members after the 60 days come to completion. The 60 days will end May 16th, 2022. We will again summarize that feedback under Dr. Valenzuela's advisement. We will bring this back to the governing board, share the public feedback, and then from there make a determination if this is something that the community and the board want to bring into implementation, specifically for middle school PE classes and high school PE classes, grades 6th through 12th grade. So right now we're doing 0 implementation for any health education standards at this time. Our recommendation is to bring this back into our educational programming with the key component of parent consent, parent awareness. And with that, we would work closely with Arizona Youth Partnership, who will be facilitating the lessons with our PE teachers in support during either a 5-day or 10-day window span. So it's not year-long, it's not semester-long, it's more of a very designated window of lessons, 5 days to 10 days. And again, we'll have a very clear schedule working with our PE teachers. I also wanted to share that if it is board approved on May 25th, we would meet closely with the Arizona Youth Partnership, our physical education teachers, our administrators at each middle school and high school, early onset of August prior to students returning, to do another program overview with our PE teachers, talk about the support systems that will be in place. Arizona Youth Partnership, again, are the facilitators, and the PE teachers are part of the co-support as well, and to then schedule when we'll offer these courses and how we obtain parent consent with the parent permission letters. The parent permission letters are also posted on the webpage and will also be publicly available if parents want to come by the district office to view the curriculum. It'll be open business days for the next 60 days, along with the online links where we have all this information for feedback as well. We are in compliance with House Bill 2035 and the State Board of Education Administrative Code R72303, and what that means is that we do not offer any type of sexual education prior to 5th grade. So 5th grade is when we start our hygiene programs, again with parent consent. Those programs are also posted on our webpage for public review and full transparency. And at any time, I'm willing to sit down with families or members and share any type of feedback or answer any questions, along with our teachers and our district nurse. In addition to that, if this is approved, the curriculum and program will also be posted as part of that compliance on the webpage for parent feedback and review for here on out, as long as it's being implemented, and that is required under that House bill. I'd like to transition to my last piece, and it's just to show our families and our community where the information will be posted. If you don't have time or you can't make it into the district office, the same information will be available online in 3 different areas. So you'll see on the very front page, we have the link active right now. You could just click on that link. It's also posted below under latest news. And then if you go to the very top, you'll go to district, and then scroll down to where it says textbook adoption public review, and the same information is there. There's all the links you can review online. Those links are active, and then that's where we're asking for feedback. We want to hear from the public. We want to hear from our parents. Share feedback, which again I'll share with the board. Part of the adoption process is also, before implementing the program, if it's board approved, the Arizona Youth Partnership will host a parent family night prior to sharing the lessons for those students that have permission to participate. So there'll be an overview and a discussion that's open to the families to come to an event prior to implementation, and then from there, only students that have consent to participate will do so. If students do not have consent to participate, there's no penalty, there's no harm done. They will continue in their PE classes, for those 5 to 10 days. We'll have a guest teacher, a substitute fill in for that teacher who is helping with the implementation of this program for those 5 to 10 days, and we move forward. There's no harm either way. The key is to be transparent, be clear, open, and of course, seek parent support, involvement, and of course, consent. So with that, if there's any additional questions or information, I look forward to sharing feedback. Again, we'll host another study session in the next few weeks, and I'm here to respond to any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. Any questions for Mr. Bonner at this time? Just a few comments. One is, we take really seriously our mission, which is student success. And part of student success is total student well-being and the best interest of our students, and that includes their health. I'm struck by the choice or the title of the program from the Arizona Youth Partnership. They call it Healthy Relationship Education Program. And these are just my own preliminary observations. And I think that's purposeful. It's not what we might think of as a traditional, focused, sex education type of approach. It's a very balanced, it really is healthy relationship. And some of that does involve anatomy, physiology, appropriately presented, et cetera. But if you look, and what I've seen of the outlines so far, and again, as Mr. Bonner said, we're committed to a thorough and meticulous process where all of the stuff is fully available to be looked at. But my preliminary indication in kind of what I've seen so far is that this is a very balanced and multifaceted approach. The majority of the lessons are about communication, problem solving, managing conflict, healthy relationships, and abstinence is a major focus, a major thematic element of this program. And as Brett said, we have a history, those of us that have participated in strengthening families, of working with Arizona Youth Partnership. They've shown themselves to be a trusted and valuable partner in our shared efforts to support and serve families in a high-quality way. So with that, at this point, I will recommend to you, President Reese, and members of the board, that we table this for the 60 days to give time for the corresponding review as mentioned.
Thank you, Dr. Valenzuela. We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I think Mr. Bonner had his hand up.
I just wanted to just reiterate, and I didn't capture this one comment, but we handle this proposal just like we would with any other adoption, whether it's mathematics, reading, writing. It's a policy-driven process, and so we're really having fidelity to that process. And then two, specific to this proposal, this is at zero cost to the district. This is grant funded. It's a 5-year grant, so there's no cost to our maintenance and operation budget. It's in a sincere collaboration and partnership with Arizona Youth Partnership for multiple years, being under a grant funding if it's board approved.
I had a quick question about the online form. I know that before there was some concern expressed when we put out surveys that hot button issues would be zeroed in on by groups that may not be part of our school community. So are we taking any steps to ensure that the people filling out this form are actually members of our community? Because it seems like a really good program, and I don't want to be targeted by a group that decides to zero in on us from, you know, Minnesota or Alabama, and all of a sudden we have all this negative feedback.
That's a great question, and I did not vet that through with Amber Woods, but with that recommendation, I will work closely with her to set up those safeguards. So it's being driven to target our community, our parents, those that represent, who are very invested as stakeholders in Sahuarita School District. So I will work with her on that process.
Okay, and then Denise, I just had a quick question for you, sorry, Madam President. as a board and being like the newest member of the board, what kind of, can you just clarify what kind of considerations as a, like the board's role for us as we're going through the next however long at looking at the curriculum, if there's anything that we should be looking at?
I think that since all of us sitting here are also parents, that we, in order to really truly be able to understand even some of any kind of feedback that we're getting, obviously go through and look at the curriculum yourself.
Obviously.
And then if you get questions or concerns raised, then answer those to the best of your ability. And if you still have questions, loop in. Probably the best person at this point would be Mr. Bonner to help answer questions that you're getting from the community.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we shall proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to, sorry, I've got to get back where we were at in the agenda. Okay. Public online, new business, public online auction items. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, you have a list of items that have exhausted useful life and require board approval so that we can put them on the auction block to capture residual value, and that would be my recommendation at this time.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we shall proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, and then moving on, we are at the consent agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. As usual, you have a list of routine consent matters that may be approved in one motion, and that is my recommendation, the approval of the entire consent agenda.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we shall proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we have possible future agenda considerations. Does anyone have anything to be considered on a future agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Establish the next board meeting. The next board meeting will be held on March 9th, 2022 in the district auditorium here. Administration capacity for up to 75, board members administration and capacity for up to 75 community members. It will also be available virtually. There's no executive session this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.